Ladies and gentlemen, new graduates, new doctors, you may have been watching the program carefully and thought that you had struck lucky today because the graduation address, which normally in the program comes before the award of the degrees, was left out. And you may have thought we were therefore finished. But in fact, we moved the graduation address to this point. I wanted to say on behalf of our honorary graduate this afternoon, Professor Gates, that we had notified him at very short notice of his award of the degree, and so he was not able to prepare the speech for this graduation, but he's offered to come back to another one and give it there. So I'm having the privilege today of offering you something of a graduation address. And the question of what is an appropriate address seemed to me to need to link four themes that we face today. The first is that this week, and yesterday in particular, was the day of reconciliation, December 16, a day in which we think about conflict, war and peace, and what is required to change the society into a more peaceful society, but in particular, what might be the roles of the university in that sort of situation. The second theme is, of course, that this is the humanities graduation. And the study of the humanities, which is about books and words and ideas and making sense of the world and preparing graduates for a whole range of careers, is something that should form part of the address. The third theme is that this year, 2014, marks the centenary of the Great War, the First World War, started in 1914. And it seems appropriate that we should be marking it in some way in some of our graduation ceremonies, and the humanities graduation and a time of thinking about war and peace seems the right moment to do so. And finally, the fourth theme, seems to me again in the context of war and peace, is to think about some of the challenges facing our continent, facing Africa, and in particular, the rise of some fundamentalist movements, which we are not coming to terms with, and we haven't figured out what is an appropriate way yet of addressing these. And so I want to start with the commemoration, the centenary of the Great War. The first engagements of the Great War were in Belgium. The Germans moved through Belgium to attack France. In August 1914, the German troops entered the city of Louvain. Louvain was a prosperous and peaceful town, known for its Gothic town hall, many wonderful medieval churches, and in particular, its ancient university. And it's a university, in fact, that we, UCT, have close relationships with. Some of you may have participated in the Erasmus Mundus exchange programs with Europe, and Louvain is our partner university. The University of Louvain had been founded in 1425. The pride of the university was its library. The university's library was housed in the distinguished Old Cloth Hall and held between 200 and 300,000 books, including many great works of theology, many classics, a rich collection of manuscripts, many handwritten, and many completely unique. When rumors spread about the war and the Germans came into Louvain, there was panic, and the invading soldiers took with reprisals against the civilian population. The mayor and several police officers and the head of the university were shot out of hand, as were 250 civilians. Around midnight on the 25th of August, German soldiers entered the university library, poured petrol around the library, and set the building alight. By morning, the library was destroyed, and its collection was no longer in existence. A few days later, a local scholar and priest described the scene to the American ambassador. He was calm when he described the destruction of the city He was not calm, but controlled when he described the people who had been shot and the pathetic sight of refugees. But when he got to talking about the library, he put his hands in his arms and wept. Book burning is by no means confined to the uneducated. On May the 10th, 1933, less than 20 years after the burning of the great library in Louvain, in most of the towns of Germany, very large numbers of right-wing university students marched in torchlight parades against what they termed the un-German spirit. With great ceremony and with bands playing, the students threw what they termed as unwanted books onto the bonfires. Unwanted literature, to be burnt and subsequently banned, included some of the following categories: the works of traitors, immigrants, authors from foreign countries who believe they can attack and denigrate the new German, the literature of Marxism, communism, and Bolshevism, pacifist literature, literature with liberal democratic tendencies and attitudes, all historical writings whose purpose is to denigrate the origin, the spirit, and the culture of the German folk, or to dissolve the racial and structural order of the folk. Books that advocate art, which is decadent or bloodless. Writings on sexuality and sexual education, which serve the egocentric pleasure of the individuals and thus completely destroy the principles of race and folk. Literature by Jewish authors, regardless of the field. All books degrading German purity. So this was the list of some of the categories of literature that was considered to be unwanted and therefore should be burnt. Helen Keller, the deaf, mute, and blind writer, whose works were also amongst the unwanted, responded thus, I quote, she said, "History has taught you nothing if you think you can kill ideas. Tyrants have tried to do that often before, and the ideas have risen up in their might and destroyed them. You can burn my books and the books of the best minds in Europe, but the ideas in them have seeped through 1,000,000 channels and will continue to quicken other minds." Also amongst those works burnt were the writings of the 19th century Jewish-German poet Heinrich Heine, who wrote in his 1821 play, which was 110 years before this burning, the play called Almansor, the famous admonition. He wrote the following, quote, "Where they burn books, they will also ultimately burn people," unquote. Book burning and the destruction of libraries is a constant theme through history. We even have terms for these practices. Indeed, two terms are biblioclassism and libricide. Biblioclassism and libricide exemplify the threat that knowledge, scholarship, and the pursuit of truth, the core values of all universities and the core values of the humanities, pose to reactionary, bigoted, and totalitarian forces. In our own day and on our own continent, biblioclassism and libricide are unfortunately alive and well. We have seen the woeful destruction of books and libraries. When the Tuareg rebels took over Timbuktu in 2012, 2 years ago, they soon began destroying the shrines they considered idolatrous. In January last year, the insurgents torched 2 libraries as they were retreating from Timbuktu. These libraries held documents dating from the 13th to 17th centuries, a time when Timbuktu was a great center of Islamic learning. Fortunately, the destruction of the shrines had alerted the scholars to the threat posed to the manuscripts. A covert rescue operation was mounted, and the libraries were largely emptied before they could be sacked. Estimates are that only a few hundred manuscripts out of several thousands were destroyed. Some of you will know that UCT has played a significant role in the preserving and researching of the Timbuktu manuscripts. Indeed, some of you here may well have studied those manuscripts yourself. Boko Haram, which has wreaked such havoc in Africa's most populous country, Nigeria, is opposed to education and particularly targets schools and young learners. In fact, the meaning of the term Boko Haram is disputed. Boko Haram is an Arabic Hausa compound phrase that accommodates a range of translations, from books are forbidden, which is one translation, to another, Western education is punishable by death. In a 2009 BBC interview, Muhammad Yusuf, the founder of Boko Haram, claimed that such education spoils the belief in one God. He also said, quote, "Like rain, we believe it is a creation of God rather than an evaporation caused by the sun that condenses and becomes rain. Like saying the world is a sphere, if it runs contrary to the teachings of Allah, we reject it. We also reject the theory of Darwinism." In short, education, knowledge, critical thought, and the global community of scholarship, these are the greatest threat to any and all fundamentalisms that stalk our world and that stalk Africa. And it is the job of graduates of great universities, graduates such as yourselves, to ensure that those threats of fundamentalism are kept at bay, and that the commitment to critical thought, knowledge, and education not only survives but flourishes. In this context, the words of Nigerian Akinwande Alawolo Wole Soyinka have particular resonance. He said, "Books and all forms of writing are terror to those who wish to suppress the truth." So today we reaffirm through this graduation, through these gowns and hats, through these pageants, through these PhDs and the research they have done, we reaffirm our commitment to ideas, to open debate, to books, to freedom, to the pursuit of truth. I urge you to hold dear these values, which are core to UCT's existence, which are core to the values of all great universities. I urge you to be argumentative, to be subversive, to challenge the received wisdoms, but also to be tolerant of different ideas, to be respectful of different beliefs and views, and to encourage debate. As you graduate today, this is what you will represent. This is what you will represent as an ambassador of the University of Cape Town. Those values, even more than the knowledge and the disciplines that you've achieved. So congratulations. I'm sure that you will want to share your joy and your appreciation with your families and loved ones who have come here, not only today, but have supported you financially and emotionally throughout the years. And I invite you now, graduates, to stand up and make eye contact with your family members, to hold your scrolls up and wave them, and to shout your appreciation to your family members. I'm sure you'll agree with me that it's not just your hard work and your hard clubbing and your families and social media that have got you to this place today, but also your teachers and the members of faculty, and I invite you to show your appreciation to them too. And I thank the faculty too, and to all the support staff that ensure that the university runs smoothly as it does. This is a great university because of the Brains Trust that is represented on the stage and amongst the students, and it is only that makes us what we are. As you graduate today, some of you for the first time, those getting a first degree, you become a member of the convocation of UCT, that body of some 150,000 people around the world who not only are ambassadors for us, but they are a community that you will link up with wherever you go. They're a community that I hope you will reunite with over the years as you maintain the networks with UCT. It's also a community which plays a critical role in the continuity of UCT and of our standards and of what we are. It does so through the Convocation's election of the President of Convocation, today on the stage with us, Mrs. Mary Burton. Also through the election of the members of the Council of the University, 6 members of Council. The governing body are elected by you, and this is one of your ways in which we maintain that continuity. We issue quarterly newsletters, electronic newsletters to all our alumni. We inform you about elections. We also inform you about reunions. We can only do that if you keep in touch with us. You will all graduate now with an email address for life, a UCT email address for life. Please, if you don't use that email address, ensure that it forwards to your new addresses all of the correspondence we send you so that we can keep in touch with you. No doubt some of you will achieve greatness in academia and probably not earn very much. Others will achieve greatness in commerce and industry and become seriously wealthy. And we certainly want you to give back to the university so that those who come after you can benefit from the privileges that you've had, supported by those who went before you. And so now it only remains for me to congratulate you on fine time and wish you a wonderful celebration for all that you've achieved.